This call
Nora,
is now
Mike
being
Kindred.
recorded.
I'm just retired as the principal of a vocational school, and that's where my interest in the Rosies came about, because we received money trying to get women in non-traditional occupations. And so one of the original Rosie the Riveters was a lady by the name of Rosie Will Monroe, who lived in Somerset, Kentucky. Anyway, So that's kind of how I got started. But my dad is 91 years old, or 92, just 90, remember today's his birthday.
How is it really?
He was in the Army Air. He was in the Army Air Corps and stuff. So that's
I'm 91.
When's your birthday, Nora?
January the 20th, 1926.
Okay, so you'll be 92 coming up, right? In about 3 months or so. Really? How about that? Well, Mike, we're recording this now, and Michael is going to be just asking you questions, and now and then I'll come in on the line, and, I'll come in and ask questions, but I'll be here the whole time. Now, we also have a Rosie up in Morgantown. Her name is Anna. I'm Ann, and she's Anna. And she may come in and listen just because she's real interested in all the different stories. Okay, Michael, ready, set, go.
Okay. Nora, let's start this thing off by why don't you give us your name, place of birth, date of birth, and all that, just basic information.
Oh, okay. My name is Nora B. Jones, Nora Bell, Nora B. Jones, and when I was born, I was Nora Bell Richmond, and was born down in Putnam County in 1926.
On January the 20th, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And so, were you were you raised on a farm, born on a farm?
I can't remember a farm, but it might have been. I know we had to raise a lot of garden, but we grew up on garden food. We didn't grow up on chicken nuggets.
What about animals? Did y'all raise any cattle or chickens and things like that, or?
No, I don't. We may have had chickens. It seemed to me like we did.
What about brothers and sisters? Did you have any brothers or sisters?
Yes, I had one brother, Ferris Richmond, and then 2 sisters. I had my older sister, Rosella King. She married a king, and then my younger sister, Esther Yeckley.
So it sounds like you were the middle child, right? You were close to the middle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are your brothers and sisters, are they still living, or have they passed away, or?
No, my brother and sister died at 87. They were 87, and so I have outlived them a little bit.
Well, tell us a little bit about, where you lived and what school you went to, and.
Well, we lived in Charleston. We lived on. I think it seemed to me like it started out on Wirtz Avenue, there in over next to Greenbrier Street and Wirtz Avenue. We lived up there when I was younger, and I went to school at Capitol High School and Roosevelt Junior High and Charleston High.
Do you remember how many were in your graduating class?
What is it?
I said, do you remember how many were in your graduating class?
Well, I never graduated. I dropped out of school and went to work, and that's when I went to NYA training school and took soldering with my sister. So we could get a job, and they offered us a job in Baltimore, Maryland, in the defense plant during the war.
And which sister was that? Which sister was that?
That was Rosella.
Okay. So when you went into
she was
training,
19 and I was 17.
Is that right? And Rosella was 19. How did you know about that job? Did you drop out of school to take that job?
No, I didn't. I just we never did have any money, and I just dropped out of school to try to go to work and make some money, which didn't happen. When you drop out of school, you don't have enough education to get a good job. I found that out later, so my grandchildren and my children have all heard that.
So you made your grandchildren...
Education.
Did you make your grandchildren... did all your grandchildren graduate from high school?
Yeah, they all graduated from college and so, well, not that they went to college. My great-granddaughter went to nurses school, and she's a nurse in the cancer center down here in Thomas Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And one granddaughter, the older granddaughter, lives in Litz, Pennsylvania. She and her husband and two girls, and he's over one of the hospitals up there in Litz, Pennsylvania. And so she doesn't work. She's a stay-at-home mom, but she went to college for a while, but I don't know that. Oh, did she? No, she said my daughter says she graduated and got a degree.
Now, is your daughter there with you now?
Yeah.
What is
my
her
youngest
name?
daughter, Lois Kohler.
Okay. Maybe at some point we can talk to Lois. Is Lois listening to us now?
Oh, well, she can't hear because I have a little flip phone.
I
can't
see.
hear on this phone.
Yeah, okay. One of the things we're really interested in, Nora, is what was your experience on the workplace? In other words, did you go to Baltimore by yourself? How did you went with your sister? How did that all work? Just tell us the story of you starting to work and how it felt and how they trained you and all that sort of thing.
Well, my sister and I both went we got a train up there, and I can't remember just how we got a place to, I can't remember about the job, how when I started or anything, but my sister and I rented a place with some lady lived there with her younger daughter, and we rented a place in her house, and we had to go up and catch a streetcar or whatever it was to work and back, and I can't remember exactly being, when I first started to work. I can't remember. I know we soldered those bazookas or whatever they call them, goes on airplanes.
Uh-huh.
And we was on piecework where the more you soldered, the more you got paid.
And now tell us about the bazookas. What did they look like?
I can't exactly remember because at 91 and I was 17 then, and I can't hardly remember too much about it.
But these went on airplanes. They weren't like the handheld bazookas.
No, they said they went on airplanes. I'm not sure what. I never did see them. I never did see a picture of it put together or anything.
So what part were you soldering on? Do you remember that?
What is it? What part?
You remember what part you were soldering on? What you were doing?
I don't remember that.
Tell us about the people you worked with. Did your sister work in the same place you did or another part of the factory? Or?
I can't remember that. I don't remember her being close to me in there.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as I know, everybody was friendly. I don't remember having any problems.
Mm-hmm.
But the the photographer got a picture of me in the cafeteria there at lunchtime when I was eating and put it in their paper.
Do you have a copy of that?
Yeah.
Do you still have a copy? Oh, we'd love to have a copy of that. Maybe your daughter can send us a copy. And what was the newspaper? You say it was the city paper or it was the company paper?
It was their company paper.
Do you remember what the name of your company was?
I can't remember.
If I told you that if I said Martin Marietta, does that make sense to you?
What was the name?
Martin Marietta. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Glenn L. Martin it was at the time.
That sounds kind of familiar.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of think it might have been. Did you work near the ocean?
I can't remember. I can't remember seeing an ocean.
Yeah.
I know we had to catch a bus or streetcar to work and back, and I came in one night on the midnight shift, and there was a drunk sitting on my steps, and I couldn't get in. And I had to walk back up the street somewhere till he left so I could get in the house and go to bed. So that wasn't no picnic.
What did you think about Baltimore? Was it a big city? Was it a scary city? What was it like?
Well, kind of scary to me after being raised around Charleston, and because so many guys stand out on the street flashing you and everything, and I was kind of scared to walk up and down the streets.
And what do you mean flashing you? What does that mean? Just looking at you?
No, just opening their coats and having their things exposed.
Things, okay. All right, things. More than one. Actually, I didn't know. I've heard the word flashing, but I didn't understand what that meant.
I'm glad we got back home safely.
Yeah. Well, now, Michael is, he just retired from being principal of a high school that teaches people to do VOTEC training. What do you think about hands-on work? Is this something you're glad you learned?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Talk to us about...
What is it?
I was going to ask, did you continue into this after the war was over?
No, I didn't. We came back home, and after the war, we brought all of our bonds that we got from working in the plant and brought them home and gave them to my mom, and so we got a job. I guess we got a job other places and worked. I can't remember that. I can't remember. I know I've worked at a lot of places.
Where are some of the places that you have worked?
Clothing stores and a candy store, and mostly clothing stores. I remember one time working in a bakery where we had to box up loaves of bread.
So, Nora, it sounds like you're kind of sorry you didn't finish your high school degree. Am I right about that?
Right.
Yeah, tell us about what that meant to you.
Well, it was kind of pathetic. Growing up, not having an education and have to make a lot less. You didn't have much had to walk a lot instead of catching a bus, and couldn't afford a car. And so it was. I wished I had went to finish school and got my education.
I think Anna's on the line. Anna, are you on the line now?
Yes, I finally made it.
That's good. Why don't you introduce yourself to Nora, Anna?
Well, Nora, I'm Anna Hess, and I live in Morgantown, and I've been a Rosie since 2014, and I grew up on a farm, very poor also, and when Pearl Harbor was bombed, my family went to Akron, Ohio, to work in the war effort. My mother went to work in an aircraft plant, and I went to school, but after a couple of years, I quit school and went to work in a little tire factory close by. And like you, I was always sorry I didn't get an education, although I did go back and get my GED and have done some other educational schools since that time. But it's glad to meet you. I'm glad to meet you. And
yeah, it's nice meeting you.
You know, Nora, I know that you haven't met that many Rosies. You came last year to the Capitol grounds, and then you went over to the Clay Center this year. Have you gotten to get to know very many of the Rosies? Have you had a conversation with them? Yeah,
I really haven't.
We need to get 2 or 3 Rosies together here, and there's not very many left. You know, when I started the project 10 years ago, we had 14 calls in 1 week from Kanawha County, and now we don't even have but maybe 4 or 5 people in Kanawha County left. I'm sorry to say, really. Michael is very interested in knowing anything that you can tell him about the workplace. Do you remember about the training? And you told me one time you made butterflies or something like that for bazookas. What does that mean? Do you remember that?
Yeah. I can't even remember what they were, to tell you the truth. It's been so many years.
Yeah.
Much has happened since then. I can hardly remember.
Was your husband, when did you marry?
I married when I was 20, and he was 23, and so we lived in South Park, they called it, or South Park there out of Kanawha City. His daddy built houses up there on the hill, and he built the house we lived in, and it's still up there. My husband died there when he was 53, and I was 50, and so my house is still up there, and I still have to keep the utilities and everything on for the children to come in and stay from out of town. My older daughter lives in Tennessee. She and her husband, not Tennessee, Anderson, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And they come in and stay there, and he comes in and goes hunting, and so I keep the place there and the utilities on and everything for them.
Now, do you live with your daughter right? Go ahead, Michael. Sorry.
I was just going to say, how did you meet your husband?
What'd you say?
I said, how did you meet your husband?
Oh, well, his sister had him a birthday party close to where I lived, and invited us, all of us girls, out there. So, all the neighbor girls, or might have been some boys there. I guess they probably were. But I met him at her birthday party for him, and he walked me home, and that was the beginning.
So he was 21. He was a grown man by then, right? 21.
He was 23, and he was also working at Libby Owens Ford Glass Company in Kanawha City.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, That's an industry that's gone, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, when I grew up
30 years.
Is that right? Well, when I grew up in Huntington, there were glass factories in Huntington, Arizona, Illinois, and I guess West Virginia had a lot of glass, but it doesn't have it anymore. It's one of those that's just faded away.
My son-in-law worked for the bottle plant, and he retired from the bottle plant down in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
They sent him all over the place, and he climbed the ladder in there and went up the ladder and done real well, and retired from there and paid for his big home and his cars and everything, and so they're doing real well.
What about
they had to help me out for a while because I didn't have much coming in from Libby Owens, and
yeah,
it hadn't been for them and my son and daughter-in-law, my daughter and son-in-law, I would have been on welfare.
Right. Now, was it your first husband that was part Native American? He was Indian?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
No, he was. His mother and dad was from Virginia, and I guess his dad worked at Libby Owens too, and he moved her down here. But
now your husband was Indian, am I correct, or part Indian?
No, my daddy was my daddy's mother was full-blooded Indian, Cherokee.
Uh-huh. Did you ever meet her?
I never. Because my daddy he was 51 and Mom was 16 when they got married.
Oh my God.
They had thrown him in the clink today.
I'm not sure. They might have.
But anyway, she had us 4 children, and he died when my brother was 16 and I was 11.
Mm-hmm.
Now my mother married again later, a real nice fella that was real nice to us.
Well, now, tell us what you remember. Has your family talked about this Native American grandmother? What was she like? Did you hear anything about?
I haven't got anybody on that to find out very much. Anything about it. I'd like to know, but I don't know how to go about it or.
Well, one of the reasons I ask is Anna's father was part Native American. Was he 1/4 Anna or 1/2?
Quarter.
A quarter.
Yeah.
And I'm 1/8 Native American. So Anna really talks about her father could go into the woods and pick herbs and knew all about basically surviving in the wild, if you will.
Yeah, that's about the way my dad and Mom was.
Tell us about that.
We used to, of course, we used to raise a garden all the time, but we picked greens and stuff like that, and of course, we grew up pretty poor. We did have a radio, and I danced all my life to that radio. How come they didn't know how to dance? But my mother said she missed me so bad when I got married. I wasn't there dancing to the radio. And
so what was the music you liked?
91. I still drive and still take a car out and go.
Is that right?
Clogging down West Side.
Oh, really? You go to Appalachian clogging groups, or where do they clog here?
No, we just some ladies I was working with at McJunkin wanted to go take some clogging lessons down at Nitro, and so I wanted to go with them because I wanted to learn how to clog, and so we went down there and took clogging lessons, and then I've been clogging ever since I was in the early 50s.
Is that right?
And still do. Get your heart rate up good.
I bet. So is your second husband still living?
No, he passed away right before Easter this year at 94 years old. He had a heart problem.
Mm-hmm. And what did he do for a living?
He was an engineer on the railroad and different things he'd done on the railroad.
Hmm. That's the C&O?
C&O, yeah.
Yeah.
Did either one of your husbands, were they in the service?
Yeah, he was. He was in there for a while, but his mother got real sick, and they discharged him to come home to help take care of her. So he wasn't in there very long.
Do you know what branch he served in?
Marines, I think it was.
And what was his name, Nora?
Clayton D. Jones.
Mm-hmm.
I caught up with him at Walmart. He was a greeter at Walmart, retired from the railroad. You can find anything at Walmart.
Oh, God. We'll have to remember that one, won't we?
Yeah, he's the only one I met that had morals and went to church, and I started dating him.
Oh, my
So I married him after 3 years. I married him in 2000 when I was 73. Huh. Yeah, I got him out dancing too, so he wouldn't get. He'd still be able to walk for a while longer.
Is that right?
Because he was 94 and he loved to dance, so we done the country two-step, and everybody liked to watch us because he got pretty good smooth with it.
I have no idea what the country two-step is. What does that mean?
Well, you just you take the steps according to the music, and step 2 up and 1 back, 2 steps up and 1 back.
And it's not a bit like square dancing. It's a totally different thing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he never did learn to clog, so I done the flat footing and clogging to. I got me some jingle taps and started doing that.
I used to clog years ago.
Did you really, Michael? I can't imagine you. I never think of a clogger being 6'2" and skinny.
Yeah.
Michael's 6'2" and skinny. I always think of him being kind of short and a little bit overweight.
Every Saturday night, if you go up to Natural Bridge State Park, they've got Hold Down Island, and they clog there every Saturday night.
Yeah, we go. They have it down here at the Pythian Building every Friday and Saturday night, and they have it at Bell Community Center where the mayor was on Thursday night. And I have went all 3 nights, but now that I'm 91, I don't like driving clear to Bell and back at night, especially since it gets dark early.
Yeah. Yeah, Bell is way up there. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. If you were to give some sort of advice to young people today, Nora, what would you tell young people today?
Well, I'd tell them to get their education first,
Mm-hmm.
so they wouldn't have to sling hash.
Yeah, and now you know back to dancing. Anna loves to dance. Tell her about your dancing, Anna.
I grew up with 4 brothers, and they was dancing with me when I was about 2. They was much older than me. They had me in their arms dancing around, so I guess it wore off. and I love to dance. I do it all, square dance, round, two-step, polka, name it, I've done it. And my daughter-in-law not too long ago said, I'm going to get on the internet and find you a dance partner. And I don't think, not at this age, but I love to dance.
Yeah, I said I had a partner there for a while, but they had that dance thing down at the South Charleston at the Mound. They have a summer fest, and we always went down there, and we won second place in 2013, and 2014 we won first place, and he had 2 trophies.
You were good.
Mantle.
Oh, really?
Yeah, everybody liked to watch us. We were pretty limber.
Pretty limber. Michael, talk to her about you're looking up online the bazookas. Did you look that up online or not?
I looked up bazookas, but I couldn't really see anything for airplanes. So I don't know. I'm not sure exactly if that was what they were for, or they were the handheld, but I really couldn't find anything about that.
Well, there was something called butterflies, I think. Did you look that up?
I looked at butterflies on bazookas, but I couldn't see that either. But I'm researching some more. So.
Oh.
When we do interviews, he often will get online and look on the internet to see, to describe better what you're talking about, so he can tell you and tell us.
I don't have anything like that. My son does, I think, but you probably couldn't get him to do anything like that and look it up.
Well, now let's talk about you've been involved now in 2 Rosie events. One was the bell ringing last year, and one was the bell ringing this year at the Clay Center. What did you enjoy those, Nora?
Oh, yes.
Tell us about it, because you see, we weren't at either one of those. We set them up, but we couldn't be there.
Oh, yeah, I really enjoyed that. Enjoyed being with all those Rosies and meeting them and ringing the bells with them. And yeah, we rang the bells in there at the state capitol in front of their big bell they have out there in front of the capitol. And then, of course, the last time we were in Clay Center, and we had the little Girl Scouts ringing bells with us.
How did that go? I wasn't there. Did that go well?
Yeah, real well, yeah.
How many Girl Scouts were there?
There must have been about at least a half a dozen.
Really?
Mhm.
Well, the Girl Scouts have really fallen in love with the Rosies. Anna is from Morgantown, and there's at least two troops up there. There might be 3 or 4. Anna, how many Girl Scout troops come in and out of different?
There was troops right there. There is more. There's one in the Catholic Church, and then my friend has the one troop. But there was Girl Scouts that came down from Fairmont, or came up from Fairmont to help us ring bells also. There must have been 25 little girls.
Is that right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
This is a big group.
We like to include children, Nora, so that children will know you and remember you.
Right.
It's really sad to me that my mother was a Rosie, and when she would start to tell what she'd done, my stepfather would be embarrassed and tell her not to talk about it because it wasn't important. And I believe it was very important. You didn't risk your lives, but you saved lives by essentially making good quality defense products, and if it hadn't been for you all, we might not have won the war. So I'm always real interested in what anybody has to say about what they did. How did you get home? Did you come home by train?
Right.
Do you remember
there was a lot of soldiers that come on there too with us. They bought her dinner on the way home.
Really?
It was real nice.
And what did you go to movies when you were in Baltimore? What did you do in your free time?
You know, I can't remember. I can't remember going to movies, but...
Have you been back to Baltimore?
No, I haven't.
Do you want to go?
Haven't had a chance. I probably be where I was. I don't even know where I'm at around Charleston, where I live.
You can get to the store and back. That's the important thing.
I went the same old routes with my second husband all the time, and I forgot which way the other routes were.
Yeah.
He always would go to Walmart and then the drug emporium and Kroger's and same old routes, and I forgot where the other streets were.
So now, which daughter do you live with? Which daughter do you live with? Which daughter do you live with?
My son and his wife.
Mm.
And
what's his name?
Donald Edward Bailey, the second.
So now your first married name...
He's a professional civil engineer with the state.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
So he builds the roads, huh?
Yeah, and his wife is in radiology, been in radiology for years.
Hmm. And have they come to the bell ringings with you?
Yeah.
Have they?
Yeah, they come and take pictures and...
Hmm.
What do you remember? Do you remember where you were, what you were doing when you found out the war ended?
You know, I can't.
Do you remember any of the women you worked with, Nora?
No, I don't. I can't even remember the ones I go dancing with. Can't remember their names. Can't remember their names or anything, just their faces.
Anna, do you have any questions for Nora?
Well, can't think off the top of my head. You did work in Baltimore?
Right.
What we're trying to figure out is she thinks she made bazookas for airplanes, but Michael's looking online and he doesn't see that there were bazookas on airplanes, but, we don't know that.
Yeah.
See, one of the things that happened, Nora, is the women were not always told what they did. We interviewed a woman about a year ago from my hometown, from Huntington, and she thought they made mouse traps because that's what they told her. Mouse traps. She worked for Sylvania, and they did tiny little pieces of wire, and basically apparently there were triggers, for explosives or bombs or something, and but she said they told them that they made mouse traps, and she really didn't honestly feel like she should ask. So when we finally did a teleconference interview of her like we're doing with you, she'd been thinking about it for a little bit. She said, I don't really think we were making mouse traps. I said, no, I don't think so.
I wouldn't think so, not for the war.
But they kept you all, they might have told you were making bazookas when you were making something else. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I just remember that name. I don't remember what.
They didn't always want you to know what you were doing. What about the music of the time? Do you remember the music? What were some of the favorite songs and all that?
No, I don't.
Don't remember?
No, you worked at Glen L. Martin, did you?
Yeah, I think it was. I think that sounds familiar.
Did you live in that area?
Pretty far away from. I had to get a streetcar or something on to get there. Okay,
the reason I ask is, they built housing close around to Glenelg Martin, and they named the streets after airplane parts, like Propeller Street and just different parts of the plane. And this little community was called, it was built for workers at Glenelg Martin, and all the streets were named after parts of airplanes.
And I didn't know that, Anna. I didn't. I don't. All these interviews I've done, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
My sister-in-law worked there, and she lived on Fuselage Avenue.
On what?
Fuselage, a part of an airplane. That was the name of the street that she lived on. I can't remember some of the others, but they were all, the whole area was named after airplane parts.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's been so many years, I can't hardly remember anything like that. Just kind of vaguely.
Well, are you glad you went? Did it change your life in any way, Nora?
Probably did, but I can't pinpoint it where.
Did you enjoy the work?
Yeah, I did. In fact, there was always somebody telling jokes or something in there.
Is that right?
Did you work at a day shift, or did you work in the evening or night?
Well, different shifts. I remember working that midnight shift when I came in, got drunk on the steps, sitting on the steps, and I couldn't get in.
I think
it was
probably
3 to 10.
I remember going out there.
I think they call it streaking now. Don't they call it streaking? Or no, maybe that's not the same thing. I don't know. Michael, what other questions do you have? What I'm really hoping is that we can try to figure out if she would like to talk with some young people and encourage them to go into technical training. Why don't you talk with her about that?
Were you asking me? I had to take another call.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Yeah. In other words, Nora is one of the few Rosies left here in Kanawha County, and I'm hoping that we can get her to encourage people to go into technical training. What questions would you ask her if you were teaching a technical training class and she went into technical training? What questions might the teacher or the students ask her?
Well, I think in today's economy, the manufacturing, if you're listening to the news, manufacturing jobs are coming back. And I just was listening to the news, and I think it's, I won't say Whirlpool, wasn't Whirlpool, but anyway, somebody's reinvesting and they're creating 400 more manufacturing jobs. But there's a large demand still out there for women in the workforce with skilled labor. And so I guess, you would be somebody I would love to have come talk to the classes and tell them your experiences about soldering, your training, but also the importance of continuing your education, because obviously that's what we all have to do. The world's changing so fast that it's just mandatory that we do that. Do you remember, you said you went to NYU for soldering training?
NYA.
What did that
training.
stand for?
It was in South Charleston, and they taught people to solder. I'm not sure if they taught anything else in there or not.
Where was that located?
That was in South Charleston.
And do you remember the building? Because I can't imagine. Was it at the stamping plant?
It was close to there.
The Naval Ordnance Center.
Yeah, it was there.
Well, we
understand the National Youth Association. It was a government program that trained young youth, young men, I don't know about women, to do many jobs. It was more of a training program to put young people to work.
I didn't know that, Anna. Thanks for adding that. And I bet you that Eleanor Roosevelt was part of that. we have a lot of pictures of Eleanor Roosevelt going into classrooms and into manufacturing and schools and trying to get women to, be trained to work with their hands. Mm-hmm. Are you still good at working with your hands, Nora?
Oh, yeah.
Tell us what you do that I can't do.
I can still, at 91, I can still bend down and pick up stuff off the floor real fast, too.
Can you work a drill? Can you drill a hole? I need some holes drilled in my kitchen.
Oh.
Can you use a drill?
I don't remember using a drill. I've watched my son and them use them, and my husband, but I never did do that.
So now soldering requires a lot of attention. You have to be very meticulous. You have to be very careful. What was soldering like? Did you make a good bead or whatever? How would you explain your work?
I guess.
What did the finishing product look like?
I can't remember. What they look like because it's been so many years.
Was this a big piece of equipment or something small?
I can't remember. I don't think it was very big because I don't remember anything real heavy.
Okay.
So, Michael, do you have any other questions? And then we'll try to figure out how we can get Nora to talk to maybe one of the high school classes here or something.
No, I don't think I've got anything else. It was certainly interesting talking to you, Nora. I appreciate your insight on things, and I'm going to continue to try to research this on the bazookas and the airplanes.
Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. It's these little bitty secret things that nobody talked about. It's almost like finding a puzzle piece, isn't it? It's very interesting. When I first started this research, Nora, I did not know what my mother had done. And she worked in Huntington in a factory called Poland, Polan Industries. And it wasn't until I talked with a husband of a friend of mine now, and a husband who's now deceased, that he started telling me about this man named Poland who was from Germany, who was he was a specialist in lenses. And all at once, little bit by little bit by little bit, I started remembering things that I would never have remembered had I not had these little things to jog my memory. And then I remembered one day, here I am 79, so I was like maybe 74 when I remembered that one day we were outside the back of the house, and a neighbor came over and said, "What do you do, Jessie?" And she said, "Well, I inspect lenses." And he said, "For gun sights," and she didn't want me to think that. She said, "No, it's for periscopes." And then when I was way into my 70s, I realized, oh my gosh, she just didn't want me to know that it was for gun sights. And I bet it was for gun sights. So the more we get into this, what we find is that once you jog somebody's memory, they remember things that they wouldn't have remembered if you didn't bring up something that's similar. And all at once, I think memory's fascinating, because the more you remember about something, the more you connect it to other memories. We've had many experiences of interviewing women who didn't remember certain things, and then they would call us a week or so later and say, I remember now about such and such. And I think that's really interesting. So if you remember anything else, you know what my phone number is. Just call me and we'll add it to the records. Okay.
Okay.
All right, Mike.
The only thing I can find that was being built in Baltimore was the B-26 airplane, and then they built some ships in Baltimore. But I'm not finding anything on the bazookas.
Well, I don't remember where that name come up, but it just somehow it come up in my mind, that word.
And the butterfly sound, butterfly sounds like it might have been something like a propeller or something like that, but you don't know?
No,
Maybe.
I don't.
Don't know. Really, I don't know either. Anyway, you keep thinking, and anytime you remember something that you think is relevant, please call us back, because we want as much detail as we can, because this is for the future, it's for people today, but I believe that people today are barely catching on to the importance of you ladies, and that they're just beginning to realize that you've remained silent for 70-some years, but if we can put together the little pieces, we'll see a whole lot more about what you did do. By the way, your second husband was not injured in the war, was he? When he served in the military, he was not injured in any way. So you never had to take care. You never had to take care of an injured veteran.
No.
No. Spell your daughter's last name. You say her name is Lois. What is her last name? Spell it for
Kohler,
me.
like the sinks and the commodes and stuff. Kohler.
Yeah. Kohler.
Kohler.
Okay. And what's her phone number? Do you know it?
I don't.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you thank her.
You want me to give her your phone number? She said, I don't know. I guess in case she wanted to call you for something. I don't know.
Yeah. If we can't get you, we could call her if we needed you at some point.
If she can't get me, and she call you or something.
You want to put her on the line, and we'll get her phone number?
No, I just punch in a button on my telephone.
Automatic redial. Well, that's good enough then. But thank you for the time, and I'm glad you got to meet Michael and Anna. They're very special people.
She said it's 304. 549.
Okay.
45 what? 19.
19. Okay, that's good to have it, because if I want to call you sometime for an event or something and I can't get you, I'll call her.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Does anybody have anything else to say? Nora, have you got any questions to ask us?
No, don't think so.
Okay, all right. Well, thank everybody for being there, and we'll be back in touch. We're going to be copying this recording, and we'll send it to you in a CD. In other words, something. Yeah, that's great. Okay, my dear. Thank you so much. Thanks, Anna and Michael.
Yeah, and call me when you have a few minutes. I have something interesting.
Okay, I will. Why don't you call me when you get a minute? I answer the phone, but I don't make calls.